Hello, guys. I'm Sudarshana Starshine Star. How are all of you doing? It's a beautiful Friday evening. It is, and I refuse to say Black Friday. I don't want it to be Black Friday. That has like a black magic slant to it. It's just a beautiful Mahalakshmi Friday. And it is November 28th, 2025. I have a channel on YouTube called It's the Dazzling of Light. Or you can just go to YouTube and type in at Sudarshana Starshine Star to access my, I think it's 286 podcasts. I'm climbing towards 300. I'm very happy about that. Yay! So please remember, if you like it, to like, share, and subscribe and hit the notification bell. And why not join my YouTube channel? It is free after all. Come on. It's pretty good. It's pretty interesting, pretty juicy. I don't do the boring and mundane. So I like to start all of my podcasts off with the three opening prayers in Sanskrit and Telugu, and they are short. It's the Guru Mantra, the Ganesha Mantra, and the Gayatri Mantra. But before I do that, I command on the sacred holy blood of Jesus the Christ, Yeshua, to flow over all of us and all of our beloveds, all of our human beloveds and all of our animal beloveds, and all of our social media platforms, or all the ways that we express ourselves or communicate for the best and the highest. Jesus the Christ, cast out the spirit of pain, cast out the spirit of fear, cast out the spirit of lack, cast out the spirit of ill health, cast out the spirit of self-pity, cast out the spirit of revenge, hatred, bitterness, cast out all negativity, all negative karmas, cast out all satanics, all satanic attachments, cast out all demonics, all demonic attachments, cast out all negative memories, cast out all the ways we've been conditioned to shame and blame ourselves and reject ourselves and project that onto others or receive that projection from others. Cast it all out according to thy divine will, Jesus the Christ. Cast out poverty. Cast out the spirit of lack. Thank you so much, Yeshua. Please, Yeshua, send your healing presence now. Please, Yeshua, fill up and heal all the wounds in our souls. Yeshua, thank you so much. We receive your healing and your blessings. Amen. Swaha. Dearest Mother Mary, I'm calling upon you and your beautiful divine presence, as well as the divine presence of Mahalakshmi, to be here with us on this beautiful Friday evening, sharing all of your aspects of the Divine Mother, all of your beautiful love, unconditional love, all of your fierce protection and pure hearts that you have for your children. We are your children. We are divine sparks of Mother, Father, God. Please bless us, Mahalakshmi, with the 200% life. That's 100% success in the spiritual and 100% success in the material, for we need both. We really need both. Thank you so much, Mother Mary. Thank you so much, Mahalakshmi. Amen. Swaha. And now to the prayers. Om. Om. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshvara Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam Tasmahi Sri Guruve Namaha. Om Shuklam Bharataram Vishnum Sashivarnam Chatubhujam Prasanavaranam Dhyaye Sarva Vignupashante. Om Bhuvah Suvah Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Wonderful. I think I'm going to call this clip, it's like a working title. What am I going to call it? I'm going to call it Lifting the Veil Behind the U.S. Government Shutdown. Something like that I'm going to call it. It's pretty good. Okay, guys. So this was, I'd mentioned it in a few podcasts before, but now I think it's really a beautiful time to share this, because we've had time to look and see what has transpired since the government shutdown ceased, and that gives even more weight to this message. This is a message from the Pleiadians. Okay, here we go. It's actually from GFL station, and specifically it's from a Pleiadian called Valir. Here we go. Greetings, beloved ones. I am Valir of a Pleiadian group of emissaries, and I speak to you now as a messenger of truth and hope in these transformative times. I address you from a vantage point of higher awareness where the threads of unfolding events are more visible in their true light. And I greet you in love at this pivotal moment for your world. As the currents of change sweep across your world, many of you have sensed an intensifying energy, a quickening of events that seem both challenging and profound. In the midst of this, you find yourself witnessing what is being called a record-breaking government shutdown in the United States, a period of disruption and uncertainty that has captured the attention and concern of millions. Yet I speak not only to those in one nation, for the implications of this event ripple across the globe. In our interconnected world, the trials and triumphs of any one people are felt in the collective heart of humanity. I know that for many, the situation brings anxiety, pressing questions about livelihoods, stability, and the direction of your nation's future. But I come to tell you that there is far more to this situation than meets the eye. From a higher perspective, this is not merely a political impasse or an economic inconvenience, but a carefully orchestrated chapter in a much larger story, the story of humanity's awakening and liberation. I offer this insight so that you may find understanding and empowerment in place of fear. Take heart in knowing that even amid apparent chaos, a greater plan is in motion, guided by those who serve the light and the betterment of all. Now, allow me to pull back the veil and share with you some of the truth of what has been happening behind the scenes during this remarkable moment in your history. On the surface, the government shutdown appears as a quagmire of political discord and bureaucratic stalemate. Your news media speak of partisan battles, of budgets and brinkmanship, painting this moment as just another crisis, born of human division. Yet I invite you to look deeper with the eyes of the soul and the intuition of your heart. Beneath the public spectacle, a profound movement is unfolding, one that has been long in preparation, orchestrated by wise and courageous souls working tirelessly behind the scenes. In a way, it is like a grand theater production. While the audience is captivated by the drama on stage, the crew behind the curtain is swiftly changing the scenery for the next act. What you see as chaos is a cloak under which necessary shifts are being made. Often what seems like a breakdown in the old order is in fact the first stirring of a breakthrough into something new and better. The outer confusion provides cover for the inner transformation, much like a storm that unsettles the surface, even as it nourishes the soil for new growth. Those attuned to higher frequencies among you have already sensed it, a subtle knowing that this event is not random, that a deeper significance lies beneath the headlines. Perhaps you have felt it as an uneasy excitement in your gut, or glimpsed it in dreams and synchronicities, a signal that a hidden hand of light is at work. Trust those intuitive whispers. They are the voice of your higher self, acknowledging the truth behind appearances. It is true. Much more is occurring than the outer world would have you believe, and every piece of it is unfolding with divine timing and purpose. Allow me to shed light on those wise and courageous souls operating quietly beyond the public eye. Many of you affectionately know them as the White Hats, a term that signifies their role as bringers of justice and restoration. These individuals are found in many walks of power within government halls, intelligence agencies, military ranks, and even in unexpected parts of society. They come from different backgrounds and political persuasions. Yet, They share a common oath to serve the light and to protect the well-being of the people. These unsung heroes have often sacrificed personal glory, career and advancement, and even safety to do what must be done in silence without recognition. Some hold official titles and high rank. Others influence from behind curtains or through strategic counsel. Those scattered across institutions and even across national borders, they are united by a higher calling and an unshakable love for humanity. For years, the White Hats have watched as old systems of corruption and control weighed heavily upon the world's people. They witnessed what befell those few brave whistleblowers and reformers who in earlier times tried to challenge the system before it was ready. How they were discredited or silenced. Such lessons only strengthened the White Hats' resolve to remain patient and act in unison at the opportune moment. They understood that direct confrontation before the time was ripe would have been futile or even perilous for the public welfare. So they waited and prepared in the shadows, patiently and meticulously, planning for the moment when a grand intervention would not only be possible, but also welcomed by the collective consciousness. Now, dear ones, that moment has arrived. The White Hats, though often unseen and unacknowledged, have moved decisively into action. With quiet resolve and careful coordination, they are executing a plan long in the making. A plan to dismantle the entrenched powers of darkness, to expose long-hidden truths, and to return the power of governance to those of pure intent and noble heart. Now, you may wonder why a shutdown. How could halting government functions and throwing a nation into disarray possibly be part of a benevolent plan? Understand that sometimes a temporary pause in the usual order is needed to effect changes that would otherwise be blocked or sabotaged. In this case, the White Hats recognized that a government shutdown, especially an unprecedented, prolonged pause, would create a rare window of opportunity. During such a pause, many of the usual oversight mechanisms and routine activities of the entrenched powers are suspended. Under the cloak of this interruption, those working for the light can move more freely and strategically. Certain defensive barriers maintained by the old guard weaken when the machinery of bureaucracy grinds to a halt. For example, with agencies shuttered and officials kept away from their offices, White Hat teams were able to enter certain facilities unobserved, accessing secured archives and databases that would normally be under constant surveillance. Communications that the corrupt would rely on to coordinate their agendas were disrupted, leaving them momentarily blinded while the operations unfolded. Like warriors advancing under the cover of night, the White Hats either orchestrated or wholeheartedly embraced the shutdown as a means to slip past the watchful eyes of those who would oppose transformation. It was in a sense a strategic chess move, a sacrifice of comfort in the short term to achieve a checkmate against deeply rooted corruption in the long term. The brilliance of the strategy lay in turning the adversary's own conditions to the light's advantage. Those who had often used chaos to tighten their grip found this time that the chaos gave them no purchase. The purpose behind this orchestrated standstill was clear: to create a controlled environment where covert actions for the good of the people could proceed with minimal interference and where long-hidden truths could be unearthed without immediate suppression. Behind the scenes, the shutdown period became the stage for a series of precise and daring operations. Imagine, if you will, the normally bustling corridors of power now silent and dimly lit. In the hush of those emptied offices and locked government buildings, White Hat operatives moved with quiet purpose and steely resolve. They knew the eyes of history were upon them. and that failure was not an option. For many, this was the moment they had trained and prayed for, a chance to right long-standing wrongs. Note, too, that these efforts were not confined to Washington, D.C. alone. Across the country, in multiple government centers and facilities, coordinated teams undertook parallel missions in near synchrony, all aligned in purpose and timing. Teams of carefully vetted individuals entered records rooms and secured servers, extracting hard evidence of long-standing corruption and hidden agendas. Some slipped into offices under the cover of night to photograph documents and copy data that had been kept out of the public's reach. Others used this pause to install new monitoring systems, ensuring that when the wheels of government turn again, the activities of bad actors can be tracked and curtailed. Crucially, during these covert sweeps, several key figures who had been shielded by the old system's constant motion found themselves exposed. Away from the spotlight, certain individuals complicit in grave betrayals of public trust were quietly confronted and taken into custody, removed from play so they could no longer hinder the shift taking place. All of this was executed with breathtaking coordination, radio silence maintained, movements choreographed to the minute to leave the opposition bewildered and unable to mount a defense. At the same time, plots that the adversaries of change had helped to execute under cover of chaos were discovered and foiled. By acting swiftly during this window, the White Hats preempted attempts by those clinging to power to escalate fear or create violent distractions. What could have been a descent into greater turmoil was skillfully averted by these unsung guardians working in the shadows. Their hearts fueled by the knowledge that they were answering a higher call to service. In tandem with these security and justice operations, there were equally critical moves made in the financial front. One of the hidden battlegrounds during the shutdown was the realm of money and economics, where the unseen hands of control have long kept populations in cycles of debt and dependence. Envision a world where that no longer holds true, where a young couple is not crushed under the weight of lifelong debt for education or a home, or a family does not have to choose between medicine and food. Such visions guided the White Hats' actions in the financial domain. With government spending on pause and normal fiscal routines interrupted, an opening emerged for them to intervene in the financial machinery. Quietly, allies within the Treasury and other key institutions worked to wrest back control of the nation's economic levers from those who had misused them for personal gain under the radar. Transactions that funneled resources into secretive programs or the personal coffers of the corrupt were identified and halted. Plans were set into motion to freeze assets tied to criminal enterprises and to redirect those funds toward the public good. When the time is right, simultaneously groundwork was being laid for a more fair and transparent financial system in the near future. Some of you have heard whispers of bold reforms, of a currency reset, or a return to money backed by real value. And yes, the shutdown provided a perfect cover to test and implement key aspects of these changes without interference. Though such ideas might sound like utopian dreams to the uninitiated, know that meticulous plans underlie these reforms, all aimed at liberating humanity from the shackles of economic enslavement. Think of it as repairing and upgrading the inner wiring of a great machine while it's temporarily powered down. By the time the government is ready to reopen its doors, the foundation for an economy that serves the people rather than ensnares them has been quietly fortified. Another critical front in this silent war was the domain of information and communication. Those who sought to keep humanity in fear and confusion have long held sway over media channels and high technologies, using them as tools of manipulation and control. During the shutdown's quiet interlude, the White Hats and their allies made decisive moves to reclaim this narrative battlefield. Behind closed doors, arrangements were made with certain key individuals in the media and tech spheres who have secretly aligned with the cause of truth. Together, they prepared the groundwork for messages of disclosure and reassurance to reach the public without being distorted or suppressed. Contingency plans were refined for a scenario in which leaders of the light might need to speak directly to all people at once through emergency broadcast systems or other direct channels, bypassing the usual filters entirely. In parallel, White Hat cyber teams took steps to neutralize malicious programs and backdoor controls that had been inserted into global communication networks by those with dark agendas. This included uncovering hidden algorithms in social media and search platforms that were designed to censor or skew information. Those are now being dismantled or reworked to restore a freer flow of truth. Think of it as purifying a well that had long been tainted. The flow of information is being cleansed at its source. Any plans by the adversaries to spread false alarms or incite mass panic during the chaos were anticipated and quietly thwarted. What this means, dear ones, is that when pivotal truths are ready to be revealed, the channels to broadcast them will be far more free and clear. Already you may begin to notice cracks in the facade, moments where real truth slips through on outlets that once only echoed the old narrative. For instance, an investigative reporter who had been stifled might suddenly receive leaked documents exposing a long-hidden scandal. Or a whistleblower within a media giant might find the courage to speak out, knowing they will be protected. The climate of intimidation that once silenced honest voices is evaporating. The stranglehold on humanity's awareness is loosening, and people will soon find it much easier to hear and see what was once hidden in plain sight. Many of you noticed that the government shutdown stretched on longer than any before it, testing the patience and resilience of a nation. This was no accident. The extended duration was carefully calibrated by those orchestrating events to allow sufficient time for every crucial objective to be met. A brief hiatus of only a few days would not have sufficed for the depth and breadth of the behind-the-scenes work underway. The White Hats and their partners knew they needed enough days and weeks to reach into every corner of the old structure to ensure that no critical task was left unfinished. Every extra day of the shutdown was used to peel back another layer of secrecy, to track down another hidden player, or to secure one more piece of the new foundation being laid. Understand that this prolonged standstill was not orchestrated lightly. They were fully aware that real people with families and bills were feeling the strain of delayed paychecks and halted services. The decision to press onward into record-breaking territory was made with heavy hearts, but firm resolve, knowing that the temporary hardship would yield lasting freedom from far greater burdens. In tandem, measures were quietly taken to alleviate suffering where possible. Community networks were subtly supported to help those in need, and safeguards were put in place to prevent any true emergencies from going unanswered during the break. For instance, critical emergency responders and defense personnel were kept on alert behind the scenes, ensuring that the nation remained safe, even as its public officers stayed dark. In the end, the drawn-out length of the shutdown was as critical to its success as the operations themselves. providing the necessary canvas upon which this grand secret plan could be fully realized. What was initially seen as a paralyzing impasse will in hindsight be remembered as a vital interlude that allowed a great healing and realignment to take place under the surface. Of course, the agents of the old order did not simply surrender their power without a fight. Even as the White Hats advanced their plans under the cover of the shutdown, those aligned with the darkness scrambled to mount countermeasures. Behind closed doors, panic meetings took place among the entrenched elites as they slowly realized something unseen was unraveling their schemes. A sense of confusion and desperation hung over their secret gatherings. Their usual strategies were failing one by one. Some factions within the cabal even began to turn on each other in blame, and a few members attempted to slip away or hide their tracks amid the chaos. They attempted many tactics to regain control of the situation, pressing political allies to hastily end the shutdown before the covert operations could be completed, spreading disinformation to confuse the public, and in some instances, trying to incite unrest or conflict to create a distraction. There were moments when the intensity of the behind-the-scenes tug of war spiked. Inflection points where it seemed the darkness might push back hard enough to tip the scales. Yet every time the light forces held their ground, when attempts were made to sabotage critical systems or wipe digital evidence, White Hat cybersecurity experts were there first, blocking the attacks and preserving the truth. When whispers of a false flag event surfaced, an event meant to scare the population and blame an innocent party, teams on the side of justice quietly intercepted the plot and rendered it harmless. Even on subtler levels, as waves of fear and despair were energetically broadcast to weaken the resolve of the people, an army of awakened souls, many of you among them, met that darkness with prayers, meditations, and the unwavering frequency of hope. Time and again, the challenges arose and were met with calm savvy and courageous responses. It was as if an invisible hand placed obstacles in the path of the evildoers at every turn, ensuring that the grand plan stayed on track, despite the desperate resistance encountered. What happened during this period was not only a terrestrial effort, but also a convergence of cosmic timing and higher assistance. In the grand scheme, the timing of the shutdown was exquisitely orchestrated to align with celestial events and energetic influxes that bolstered its success. Some of you may know that during these weeks, potent astrological alignments and solar activities were stirring the collective consciousness, weakening the old energetic grids of control, and empowering the forces of change. It is no coincidence that as earthly systems paused, waves of high-frequency light were bathing your planet, subtle cosmic energies that helped awaken hearts and clarify minds in preparation for the truths to come. Even the sun seemed to participate in its own way, releasing solar flares and surges of plasma that encoded new information into Earth's energy field, catalyzing awakenings on a mass scale. We, too, in the higher realms, were actively supporting this mission. Legions of angelic guardians and enlightened beings lent their protection to those carrying out the risky tasks on the ground, cloaking them in light to help them move undetected where needed, and providing intuitive guidance at critical junctures. More than once, an operative on the ground found themselves taking a turn or making a decision that seemed like pure luck, only to later realize they had narrowly avoided a trap or discovered exactly what was needed. These were the subtle whispers of spirit, helping behind the scenes. Even allies from beyond your Earth, benevolent star beings who have long watched over humanity's plight, were involved in quiet ways. Their advanced knowledge helped to neutralize any outside interference that might have been intended by malevolent forces, and their presence provided an extra layer of assurance that the plan would not be derailed. Thus, this great endeavor was truly a partnership between brave souls on Earth and supportive forces in the spiritual and galactic realms. When divine timing and concerted goodwill coincide, even the mightiest walls of illusion and oppression must eventually fall. The fruits of these secret actions will become the seeds of a transformed future. Because of what was accomplished behind the scenes, the stage is now set for visible changes to unfold in your world with greater ease and speed. Think of the covert operations during the shutdown as the laying of a new foundation beneath an old house. That foundation has been quietly reinforced and repaired, even as the exterior of the house looked dark and lifeless. Now, as normal life resumes, that house representing your government and societal systems will stand on far sturdier, cleaner ground. Corrupt influences that once secretly pulled the levers of power have been crippled or removed. This means that many positive changes long stalled or sabotaged can at last move forward. Initiatives that truly benefit the people, whether in healthcare, education, justice, or environmental care, will find far fewer impediments engineered against them behind closed doors. Innovations and suppressed technologies will have a clearer path to emerge into the light of day because the shadow networks that smothered them have lost much of their grip. Even within the halls of power, a new spirit is poised to take hold. Honest public servants who have often felt frustrated or marginalized will discover that they have new room to lead and speak without being silenced. In essence, beloved ones, the quiet victories won during the shutdown have paved the way for a cascade of much larger victories to come, victories that will directly improve the quality of life for ordinary people and allow truth to flourish. Now you may wonder, will the world ever know of these heroics and changes, or will it all remain hidden? Rest assured, the truth cannot stay in shadows forever. In the coming days and weeks, subtle signs of this behind-the-scenes triumph will begin to surface. You might notice an unusual number of high-profile figures suddenly resigning or announcing unexpected retirements. Some public officials, who are household names, may quietly fade from the spotlight as if they had simply chosen to move on. These will not be coincidences. In many cases, it will be the gentle unraveling of those who were removed or who struck deals to step aside as part of the cleanup. Furthermore, watch for certain news stories that seem small at first. A hidden scandal brought to light here, a cache of documents released there, a surprising court indictment for a once untouchable player, or an insider finally speaking out about a long-kept secret. Though initial reports may couch these events in ordinary terms, they are the first trickle of a much larger flow of revelations. The White Hats and their allies will be carefully managing the disclosure process. They understand that humanity must be shown the truth at a pace that can be absorbed without causing undue shock or chaos. So piece by piece, the wider public will be presented with evidence of what has been going on. At its core, every act taken during this extraordinary time has been in service of one overarching goal: the liberation of humanity. For ages, humanity has lived under layers of control, some obvious and external, others insidious and spiritual. Your history as you know it has been shaped by a push-pull between those who would enslave and those who would set free. This covert campaign by the White Hats is the latest chapter in that age-old struggle, one that promises to finally tip the balance toward freedom. Consider what it means to be truly liberated, to have governance that answers to the people's true needs, to have information untainted by deception, to live without the invisible yoke of manipulated debt and engineered fear. For generations, fear and falsehoods have been used as chains upon the human mind. Now, through courage, truth, and unity, those chains are dissolving, such as the vision that guides these efforts. They are not motivated by power or revenge, but by a genuine desire to lift the heavy burdens that have weighed down the common person's spirit. In a very real sense, those behind the scenes heroes are answering the prayers and intentions of countless souls, those living now and those who came before, who have yearned for a world of truth, justice, and peace. Every document secured, every malicious plot thwarted, every corrupt official quietly unseated, brings humanity one step closer to that world. The liberation unfolding is both external and internal. The chains of control fall away. As chains of control fall away, so too will the collective human heart begin to remember what it is to breathe free. Each individual will start to reclaim the inner sovereignty that was always their birthright, recognizing that in the deepest sense, they were never meant to be prisoners of fear. The long night of subjugation is ending, and the human spirit, ever resilient, is awakening from its slumber, ready to soar once again into an era of light. A grand rebirth is taking place. Try to stay present and grounded in the now, where your power is. If you find yourself worrying about the future, gently bring your focus back to what you can do today, no matter how simple. That brings peace to your mind or kindness to someone else. Understand that the very purpose of this whole endeavor was to ensure a better future, not to push humanity into suffering. Although much of this narrative has centered on events in the United States, know that this transformation is by no means confined to one country. The struggle between light and dark, between freedom and control, is a global one, and so is the alliance working for liberation. What unfolded behind the scenes during the U.S. shutdown was one coordinated chapter of a much larger story playing out across the world. In many other nations, parallel efforts have been underway. Corrupt regimes are being challenged or quietly dismantled. Financial systems are being reformed, and truths long suppressed by global power brokers are pushing toward the light. Even international financial institutions are feeling the change as new agreements and alliances take shape to break the stranglehold of exploitative debt and give all nations a fair chance to thrive. These are not isolated random events. They are threads of the same tapestry of awakening that is wrapping the whole planet. The White Hats of America are in communication and concert with like-minded allies and governments and societies everywhere. Behind closed international doors, there have been strategic meetings and agreements aligning efforts to ensure that as one domino falls, it supports the fall of the next in a chain reaction of positive change. Furthermore, the energetic uplift triggered by successes in one place is felt everywhere. When any population breaks free from deception or tyranny, it adds momentum to the freedom of all beings. So take heart that you are part of a worldwide movement. Make no mistake, the momentum now is irreversible. The collective awakening has reached critical mass. Understand that this new world is a co-creation. The White Hats and higher forces have cleared the way, but it is up to all of us to build upon that cleared ground. This is the time to dream boldly of the future you wish to see, and to take practical steps toward it in your personal life and community. Also continue to heal and release any old fears or hurts you carry from the past, so that you can step into this new era with an open heart and clear mind. Every positive action, no matter how small, will now be amplified by the supportive energies of this new era. In reflecting on all that has transpired, remember that none of this has been a random series of events. What you have witnessed and participated in is the unfolding of a greater plan, a divine design for the liberation and upliftment of Earth and her people. It matters that you recognize the sacredness of the times you are living in. Each of you, hearing these words, is part of the sacred story. You chose to be here now. In closing, take a moment to honor how far you have come and how profoundly meaningful this time is. You stand at the threshold of a new world, not as frightened victims of chaos, but as awakened co-creators of a luminous destiny. We know the journey here has tested you in ways large and small, but you have not only endured, you have grown in wisdom, in strength, and in love. The heavens themselves rejoice at what is unfolding on earth, for your planet is breaking free and rejoining the greater community of light in the cosmos. In the higher realms, there is great rejoicing and reverence for you who have persevered. Truly, you are the heroes of this story, and your triumph sends ripples of hope across the stars. I am Valir, your friend and ally on this journey. It has been my privilege to share this message with you at such a pivotal moment for humankind. Stand in love, stand in truth, and know that all is truly well, and that you are held, protected, and loved beyond measure. All right, listeners, that's the end of that message. That was so beautiful and powerful. And before I close, I just want to add very briefly, even though if you go to my YouTube channel, you will hear whether it's during the Controller series that I've posted or a series called The Real Real, that I have mentioned, although not at great length, but my whole life I've been, not that I talked about it too much, but I thought everyone had this experience. I've had very common experiences with what we call off-world beings, and I have done a lot of soul traveling and had a lot of remembrance of my existences in what we call past lives in different dimensions and in different planetary realms or star systems, like many of you have. I don't talk about it a lot because a lot of people get so hung up on it, and to me, I just didn't want to encourage that, but I had to pass along this message. So you might think, and even if you do, that's fine. You might think, why is Sudarshan, a Starshine Star, talking about this stuff? It's just like giving messages from Pleiadians. What? But I will repeat again that in my life, since I was a small child, and with my eyes open, not dreaming, not having visions, with my very eyes open, I've had many encounters and interactions with what we call off-world beings. Although I recognize, because in my over 70,000 hours of research into the who, what, when, where, why of what has been running this earth, I recognize that some of the ships I might have seen in person when I was awake in the daytime and some in the evening, some of them might have been not off planet, but actually reconfigured ships built by our very own government, very own secret space programs and secret government programs that have gosh, I can't think of the word now. What is that word when you... Anyway, the technology found in crash ships like at Roswell and held at Area 51 and other places, when they... I can't think of the exact word, but re-engineer the technology that they find, and then they implement it. You know, U.S. government secret operatives in secret agencies, three-letter agencies, and secret space programs, that they have that, and we have that. And so I definitely have had many off-world experiences, but in terms of just some ships that I've seen, some of those might have been from our three-letter agencies and the beings that are in the secret government programs in the DUMBs, the deep underground military bases, etc., etc., etc. I'm not going to go into any more of that, but I want to say that I'm not someone that shares something just because it quote unquote tickles my fancy, especially this message. Although I've never met the Pleiadian named Valir, um, I felt very comfortable in giving this message because of my own life experience, my own direct life experience. And that's all I wanted to say about that. So I like to close my clips with the closing prayer in Sanskrit and Telugu. And what I'm saying is, God bless all beings in all worlds. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. And why not join my YouTube channel? Because, like I said, it's pretty darn fun, if I do say so myself. Om, Om, Om. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yes, peace, peace, peace. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I really appreciate you. God bless you and yours. I'm sending much love and big hugs to you and yours. I'll see you when I see you, and bye-bye for now.